The Strategic Command Center hummed with tactical intensity until General Morrison's patience snapped. "File those reports properly, Corporal Zhang," he commanded, irritation clear in his voice. The unassuming woman in standard-issue utilities leaned toward her satellite intercept console and spoke 8 words over the command frequency that changed everything. The effect was immediate. The wargame coordinator's tactical stylus clattered to the floor. Senior strategists froze mid-briefing and faces drained of color throughout the underground facility. No one had expected the data processing specialist to decode enemy satellite transmissions. No one had expected the quiet woman relegated to administrative duties to predict the opposition's entire strategic plan. No one had expected the truth. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story captivated you, please consider subscribing. We share powerful stories of unsung heroes every week. The underground Strategic Command Center buzzed with the constant hum of advanced computer systems and urgent tactical communications. Banks of wall-mounted displays showed real-time war game scenarios, satellite imagery, and strategic maps marked with blue friendly forces and red opposing elements. The air carried the scent of strong coffee and electronic equipment, mixed with the competitive tension that accompanied the Pentagon's most sophisticated military exercises. It was 0800 hours on Day 3 of Operation Red Storm, the annual war game that determined tactical doctrines and strategic promotions for the next fiscal year. Corporal Lisa Zhang sat at her assigned data processing workstation, deliberately positioned away from the main strategic planning area. Her black hair was pulled back in a regulation military bun, no jewelry visible except for standard-issue dog tags. Late 20s, with intelligent eyes that spoke of analytical precision rather than strategic ambition. Her attention moved constantly between multiple satellite data streams and communication intercepts, while her physical presence was carefully minimized in the high-ranking command environment. To a casual observer, she might have been any support specialist, a recent graduate from intelligence school perhaps, or another technician assigned to handle routine data management tasks. She occasionally made entries in a classified computer terminal, her work methodical and largely invisible to the strategic planning staff. Unlike the general officers and senior colonels who dominated the command center with their campaign ribbons and strategic expertise, she wore no visible markers of operational planning experience or tactical command qualifications. Just a data clerk, it seemed, with specialized computer training and an assignment to process information while remaining distant from actual decision-making. The war game underway involved a massive simulated conflict between NATO forces and a sophisticated opposing coalition, with strategic scenarios playing out across multiple theaters of operation. The exercise had progressed according to established parameters, initial deployments completed, strategic objectives identified, and tactical coordination maintained between various command elements. Brigadier General Martinez, a veteran strategic planner with multiple War College credentials, coordinated the friendly force operations with practiced authority, moving between briefing stations and monitoring strategic developments throughout the command center. NATO forces had clear strategic protocols to follow regarding operational deployment, Martinez explained to the planning staff, his voice carrying across the sophisticated facility. Their decision to implement rapid deployment doctrine directly follows established strategic doctrine and historical precedent. General Morrison sat prominently at the primary strategic console, his face reflecting the intensity of high-level competition. A career officer with 25 years of service, he appeared focused and determined in his dress uniform, as if the complexity of coordinating multinational strategic operations had heightened his competitive drive during recent days. Lisa watched it all from her isolated workstation, her expression revealing nothing. Only the occasional keystroke on her satellite intercept system suggested any emotional response to the unfolding strategic competition. When Brigadier General Martinez called for updated intelligence assessments, heads turned briefly toward Lisa's position at the data processing station. Corporal Zhang has been monitoring routine satellite communications, Brigadier General Martinez announced. She may have additional administrative data on communication traffic volumes. She approached the central briefing area with measured professionalism that seemed at odds with her junior enlisted status. Something about her movement, posture erect, steps purposeful, eyes constantly evaluating the strategic displays, caught the attention of a distinguished colonel seated near the main tactical console. He observed her with growing interest, noting details that didn't quite align with typical administrative personnel. General Morrison, authoritative and demanding, watched her with narrowed attention as she prepared her data summary. The general was known for his direct approach to strategic decision-making and operational efficiency. Today, he wore command authority like a badge of honor, his uniform immaculate despite the intensive competition environment. "Provide your administrative summary for the record," instructed General Morrison. "Corporal Lisa Zhang, satellite communications analyst," she replied. Her voice was quiet but precise, her military bearing professional. Brigadier General Martinez began his information requests, and Lisa's responses were technically accurate and detailed, but delivered in such a controlled, measured tone that General Morrison soon grew visibly impatient. Several times, senior staff members had to ask her to explain technical terminology. "Corporal Zhang," General Morrison finally interrupted. "The entire strategic planning staff needs to understand your data summaries clearly. Speak in terms relevant to strategic operations." "Yes, sir," Lisa responded, barely adjusting her technical vocabulary. Brigadier General Martinez continued. "Corporal Zhang, can you explain your satellite monitoring activities and data collection procedures? I've been maintaining continuous surveillance of satellite communication networks using advanced signal intelligence platforms," she replied, her voice still frustratingly technical. "I've established comprehensive monitoring protocols that provide complete coverage of electromagnetic spectrum activity across multiple satellite constellations and frequency ranges." "And what patterns have your systems detected?" "I've documented baseline communication patterns consistent with routine military exercises and standard operational procedures. No significant anomalies in transmission volumes or encryption protocols detected in primary monitoring sectors. Advanced spectrum analysis indicates normal communication traffic within expected parameters for training exercises." "Have you documented these data findings?" "Yes, I've created comprehensive digital archives of all signal intelligence with detailed metadata correlation and timestamp verification according to established data management protocols." "Was this technical analysis distributed to strategic planning staff?" "It was processed through appropriate intelligence channels per standard operating procedures." The operations officer, Colonel Stevens, approached for additional questioning with obvious skepticism. Tall and imposing with distinguished gray hair that reflected extensive strategic experience, he moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to evaluating intelligence reports from junior support personnel. "Corporal Zhang, what specific training qualifies you to interpret complex strategic communications intelligence?" "I completed advanced satellite communications training at the Defense Intelligence Agency, including strategic signal analysis and electromagnetic warfare courses." "And what level of strategic planning experience?" His tone clearly suggested the answer would confirm her limited strategic credentials. "I achieved advanced certification in multiple satellite intelligence platforms and strategic communication analysis systems," Lisa responded professionally. Colonel Stevens smiled condescendingly. "Corporal Zhang, how could you possibly understand the strategic complexities of multi-theater warfare when you've been processing routine data for only 2 years? Something flickered across General Morrison's face. A brief moment of recognition quickly suppressed. He studied Lisa more carefully now, noting details he had previously dismissed. "Sir," respectfully, Brigadier General Martinez interjected. "Corporal Zhang's technical analysis should be evaluated based on the quality of her intelligence data, not assumptions about her strategic background." "Agreed," General Morrison replied, his eyes remaining focused on Lisa with renewed interest. Colonel Stevens adjusted his approach. "Let me rephrase. What direct strategic planning experience do you have that would qualify you to assess tactical intelligence from satellite communications?" Lisa paused before answering, her eyes briefly meeting those of the distinguished colonel near the tactical console. "My background includes some practical application of strategic intelligence techniques in operational environments," she said carefully. "Could you be more specific about this strategic planning experience?" "That information involves previous assignments that may not be directly relevant to current exercise parameters." Colonel Stevens looked toward the commanding general. "Sir, if the corporal lacks relevant strategic planning experience, Her interpretation of satellite communications should be weighted accordingly in our tactical assessments. I'll allow continued questioning, General Morrison ruled. Corporal Zhang, please provide more detail about your relevant strategic background. Lisa's expression remained neutral. My previous strategic experience involves classified intelligence programs. How convenient, Colonel Stevens remarked sarcastically. So we're expected to give strategic weight to your data analysis without knowing your actual qualifications to make such operational assessments? I'm providing technical analysis of satellite intelligence using established military intelligence protocols and strategic communication interpretation procedures. As the questioning continued, Lisa responded with increasingly sophisticated details about advanced strategic intelligence techniques, enemy communication pattern recognition, and operational security analysis that made several senior officers exchange meaningful glances. She referenced specific satellite capabilities, electronic warfare countermeasures, and strategic intelligence procedures that seemed well beyond the knowledge base of a standard data processing technician. When shown a strategic map of the current war game scenario, her eyes studied it with intensity that suggested deeper familiarity, her professional composure revealing subtle signs of personal investment in the strategic outcome. Do you recognize specific strategic elements of this operational scenario, Corporal Zhang? Colonel Stevens asked. Yes, it represents the current NATO deployment pattern against the opposing coalition forces, with particular emphasis on strategic choke points and communication nodes. And your satellite monitoring of this scenario has confirmed what exactly? Your technical analysis hasn't identified any strategic intelligence that would alter our current operational planning. Lisa's voice remained steady and professional. My satellite communications monitoring has documented baseline activity patterns and strategic indicators. My technical recommendations for enhanced surveillance of specific communication networks were included in my formal intelligence reports. In the Strategic Command Center, the older colonel with extensive strategic planning ribbons watched Lisa with growing intensity, his experienced face reflecting concentration as if trying to place half-remembered details from previous classified operations. The morning hours passed as Brigadier General Martinez returned for follow-up questions, asking Lisa about specific satellite monitoring protocols used during the war game exercise. Can you explain the standard satellite surveillance procedures for a strategic exercise of this scope? Martinez asked. The satellite intelligence systems would establish primary and secondary monitoring networks covering all participating forces' communication activities, she explained, her voice maintaining that technical precision. Standard protocols require continuous signal surveillance with redundant satellite platforms and regular intelligence updates to strategic commanders. And if those satellite systems detected unexpected strategic developments or tactical changes, the satellite operators would immediately alert strategic commanders using priority intelligence channels and reposition satellite assets to provide enhanced surveillance of strategic developments, she explained with a level of strategic sophistication that raised eyebrows among the planning staff present. General Morrison leaned forward, his patience with technical jargon wearing visibly thin. Corporal Zhang, I've asked you repeatedly to communicate in terms relevant to strategic operations. This command center cannot effectively utilize intelligence that requires constant technical translation. I apologize, sir, Lisa replied, her communication style barely becoming less technical. The older colonel in the command center now leaned forward at his position, his eyes never leaving Lisa's face, recognition seeming to dawn slowly, his expression shifting from casual interest to something approaching amazement. Colonel Stevens seized on the general's frustration. Perhaps Corporal Zhang's reliance on technical terminology reflects her limited understanding of how satellite intelligence actually applies to strategic military operations. Brigadier General Martinez responded immediately. Sir, that's an unfair characterization of the corporal's technical expertise and intelligence capabilities. Noted, Brigadier General Morrison replied firmly. Colonel Stevens, please focus your questions on the corporal's intelligence findings rather than speculating about her strategic capabilities. Colonel Stevens nodded in acknowledgement. Corporal Zhang, in your professional assessment as a satellite communications analyst, was there anything in your intelligence monitoring that would indicate modification of current strategic procedures for NATO forces? Lisa looked directly at the main strategic display for the first time during the briefing. My satellite intelligence analysis suggests communication patterns and strategic indicators that warrant enhanced operational awareness. That wasn't my specific question. Based on what your satellites monitored, should current strategic operations continue as planned? Based on my technical analysis of satellite intelligence data, current operations should continue, but with modifications to communication security protocols in specific strategic sectors. Colonel Stevens's expression hardened. Are you suggesting that strategic planning staff has inadequately assessed communication security requirements? I'm stating that my technical recommendations for enhanced satellite surveillance of specific communication networks differed from the monitoring parameters actually implemented for this exercise. The command center stirred with quiet strategic discussion. General Morrison tapped his pen once against his console, restoring order. Corporal Zhang, General Morrison said, his voice carrying obvious impatience. You need to explain that technical assessment in practical terms the entire strategic staff can understand. What specific communication networks require different surveillance coverage? Lisa paused, her eyes scanning the command center briefly before returning to the general. When she spoke, her voice maintained that technical precision, forcing strategic staff officers to pay closer attention. My satellite intelligence analysis identified communication patterns in strategic sectors 14 Bravo through 22 Delta that exhibit characteristics inconsistent with routine exercise communications. These networks were not included in the primary surveillance tasking provided to satellite intelligence operations. General Morrison's head lifted, his carefully maintained strategic focus sharpening noticeably. The distinguished colonel's expression showed growing recognition as he studied Lisa with renewed intensity. Corporal Zhang, General Morrison said firmly, strategic urgency evident in his tone. This represents potentially critical intelligence. Explain clearly what your satellites detected in those communication networks. Lisa looked directly at General Morrison. A moment of quiet recognition seemed to pass between them, though the general quickly returned to professional command demeanor. The experienced colonel in the command center was now gripping his strategic planning materials, his knuckles showing white. General Morrison leaned forward with visible concern at his strategic console. Corporal Zhang, we have ongoing strategic operations right now. If your satellite monitoring detected something significant about enemy communications, report it immediately. The command center fell silent. For the first time since beginning her technical briefing, Lisa looked directly at General Morrison with unmistakable urgency. The quiet recognition between them became more evident, though the general maintained his command composure. The experienced colonel near the tactical console leaned forward, his hands ready at his strategic planning materials. Suddenly, urgent communication traffic crackled through the main strategic network. The War Game Control Center reported an unexpected strategic development from the opposing coalition forces, with tactical movements that seemed to anticipate NATO strategic planning. The transmission was brief, confused, and ended with acknowledgement that the exercise parameters had been fundamentally altered. All strategic elements. This is strategic control, General Morrison called over the command frequency. Report current tactical status immediately. The communication center filled with overlapping reports as various strategic commands tried to provide situation updates. The scenario was complex, with multiple strategic developments and incomplete intelligence reports from various operational theaters. Lisa leaned toward her satellite intercept console and spoke clearly over the strategic frequency. Strategic control, this is Overwatch intelligence. I have confirmed intelligence on opposing coalition strategic communications indicating complete awareness of our operational planning. Enemy forces have been monitoring our encrypted strategic communications for the past 72 hours. They know our complete battle plan. The effect was immediate and electric. General Morrison's strategic planning materials nearly slipped from his grasp. Several staff officers physically straightened at their positions as if receiving critical strategic intelligence. Colonel Stevens's face showed complete shock. The distinguished colonel near the tactical console stood up quickly, then deliberately sat back down with recognition evident in his expression. Complete silence fell over the command center as understanding dawned across various faces. Some looked confused by the sudden strategic expertise, others appeared shocked by the authority in her voice, and a few, Those who grasped the significance of what they had just witnessed seemed stunned. Lisa continued in her normal controlled voice, but now everyone was listening intently. That satellite intelligence was collected using advanced strategic reconnaissance techniques and classified communication intercept capabilities I learned during my deployment with the National Security Agency's Special Operations Intelligence Teams 4 years ago. I was also the satellite intelligence analyst attached to Strategic Planning Command, which General Morrison personally supervised during classified strategic operations before our program was restructured. She systematically activated multiple satellite intelligence feeds on the main display screens and highlighted them for the strategic staff to observe. These are real-time communication intercepts and strategic intelligence data, showing that opposing coalition forces have been systematically monitoring our encrypted strategic communications since the exercise began. They're not winning because of superior strategy. They're winning because they know our complete operational plan in advance. General Morrison attempted to maintain strategic composure, but his voice carried obvious recognition. Corporal Zhang, this represents a significant departure from standard intelligence reporting procedures. My team and I were reassigned to regular Army intelligence units after Strategic Planning Command was restructured and classified 4 years ago, Lisa continued calmly. I've spent the last 3 years working under standard military occupational specialty classifications while waiting for another situation where my specialized strategic intelligence training could prevent operational security failures that compromise strategic military operations. A younger intelligence analyst near the communication console looked up with confusion. This doesn't make sense. Strategic Planning Command's intelligence analysts were all reported as transferred to different assignments after that program was restructured. The distinguished colonel turned to address him quietly. Look at her satellite intelligence techniques, Lieutenant. Look at how she's coordinating those intercept systems. You don't learn that level of strategic reconnaissance in regular intelligence school. Lisa activated additional strategic intelligence displays to reveal detailed information about communication compromises, strategic intelligence, failures, and operational security breaches that had been invisible using conventional intelligence methods. My previous unit was restructured because we discovered that senior officers were deliberately providing our strategic planning intelligence to opposing forces through defense contractors who were supposed to be supporting our strategic operations. The command center erupted into controlled strategic activity as staff officers began coordinating immediate security responses. General Morrison activated emergency communication protocols, his face showing a combination of shock and professional determination. This strategic command center will implement immediate security procedures, he declared, his voice steady despite obvious emotional impact. But before anyone could fully process the implications, Lisa continued. Sir, this exercise has been compromised from the beginning. I've spent 3 years analyzing similar strategic intelligence failures and gathering evidence about the security breaches that led to my unit's restructuring. This represents the same operational security compromise, same intelligence methods, same systematic betrayal. General Morrison slowly turned in his strategic command chair, his operational authority visibly affected by recognition. He nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement and renewed professional trust. Strategic Planning Command was classified above top secret, Lisa continued. Our mission involved providing strategic intelligence support for operations targeting defense contractors who were systematically selling American strategic planning intelligence to foreign governments. We discovered that our strategic reconnaissance intelligence was being compromised by someone with access to our operational planning, someone who was selling our strategic assessments to the same contractors we were supposed to be investigating. She activated her satellite control systems and displayed an encrypted data storage device. This contains 4 years of strategic intelligence data, communication intercepts, and operational security documentation that proves how our strategic operations were being systematically betrayed. This exercise isn't failing because of strategic planning inadequacies. It's failing because our operational security has been systematically compromised by the same intelligence sales network we investigated 4 years ago. Colonel Stevens attempted to restore normal strategic briefing procedures, but found himself struggling with the operational security implications. Corporal Zhang, This represents highly irregular intelligence reporting procedures. My unit was restructured and scattered to prevent us from investigating the strategic intelligence sales further. Lisa continued with professional calm. I was the designated intelligence analyst who maintained all our strategic reconnaissance evidence and operational security documentation. I've spent 3 years working in regular assignments while waiting for the right opportunity to expose the source of those strategic intelligence compromises and prevent other military operations from being betrayed using the same methods. Brigadier General Martinez approached Lisa with obvious concern and growing professional respect. Specialist Strategic, if what you're reporting is accurate, how did you maintain access to classified strategic intelligence capabilities, and why choose this exercise to reveal your background? Lisa's professional composure never wavered. I maintained access because I never officially left strategic intelligence operations. My assignment to regular data processing was supposed to be temporary cover while Strategic Planning Command investigated the intelligence sales. When the investigation was terminated and the unit restructured, I continued gathering evidence using my legitimate access to satellite intelligence systems. She indicated the real-time strategic intelligence feeds showing communication compromises affecting the exercise. I chose this moment because this exercise is being used to validate strategic doctrines that will be implemented in real-world operations. If those doctrines are based on compromised intelligence and flawed operational security, soldiers will die because of strategic planning failures that could have been prevented. The distinguished colonel approached the briefing area. Sir, request permission to address the strategic staff. I am Colonel Harrison, recently returned from assignment with Strategic Intelligence Operations. I worked with Strategic Planning Command during their classified strategic operations. He turned to face Lisa. Specialist Strategic was one of the most skilled strategic intelligence analysts I encountered during my career. If she reports that this exercise has been systematically compromised, I believe her assessment without question. Colonel Stevens interjected with growing frustration. This is highly irregular, but it doesn't change the immediate strategic situation we're managing. This exercise needs to continue regardless of any alleged operational security breaches. The situations are directly connected, Lisa replied. This exercise was specifically designed to validate strategic doctrines while simultaneously testing the same intelligence sales network that my unit was investigating. Same operational pattern, same intelligence compromise, same strategic betrayal. She activated additional strategic intelligence data on her control systems. This is communication intelligence showing that opposing coalition forces received advanced notification of our complete strategic plan, tactical deployments, and operational objectives. The source of that intelligence leak is the same defense contracting network that compromised Strategic Planning Command's operations 4 years ago. General Morrison studied the strategic intelligence displays, his command authority gradually returning as he processed the operational security intelligence. This strategic intelligence wasn't included in our pre-exercise security briefing because it was deliberately removed by the same people who have been compromising our strategic operations, Lisa said. Just like the strategic intelligence my unit collected was altered before reaching strategic commanders. The pattern is identical because the source is identical. The command center had grown absolutely focused. Every person present understood they were witnessing something extraordinary while simultaneously managing immediate strategic implications for ongoing military operations. Even the communication operators had prioritized Lisa's intelligence updates while maintaining emergency coordination with exercise control. Brigadier General Martinez approached the strategic console. Sir, based on this new intelligence, I recommend immediate modification of our strategic response and potentially reassessing how this entire exercise was planned and coordinated. General Morrison nodded with restored strategic confidence. Agreed. All strategic responses will be modified immediately based on current intelligence assessments. He paused, then added, Specialist Strategic will remain integrated with strategic operations until this operational security situation is completely resolved. As staff officers coordinated the security response, Lisa continued her strategic briefing. There's additional information you need to understand, sir. She accessed a secured file on her strategic intelligence system. This contains the original operational security assessment for this exercise with your authorization signature. And this, She displayed another document. Is the modified security briefing that was actually implemented? The strategic assessments don't match. General Morrison examined both documents with obvious shock. Someone altered the operational security briefing after I approved it, he said, recognition and anger evident in his voice. Yes, Lisa confirmed. You've been carrying strategic responsibility for operational decisions based on compromised intelligence assessments you never actually authorized. The same defense contracting network that destroyed Strategic Planning Command has been systematically altering strategic intelligence to serve foreign interests while profiting from intelligence sales. Colonel Harrison moved closer to the display. I always wondered why certain strategic exercises seem to favor opposing forces disproportionately. This explains strategic problems we've been encountering across multiple training scenarios. General Morrison looked up, professional determination overriding emotional impact. I've been commanding strategic operations for 3 years, believing my intelligence assessments were reaching exercise participants accurately. I authorized strategic plans, but someone has been systematically modifying them to serve hostile interests. The command center entrance opened, and a team of federal investigators entered, led by a serious-looking official from the Defense Intelligence Agency. What's the status of this strategic exercise? The official demanded. General Morrison, I'm Director Chun from DIA Counterintelligence. We received credible intelligence yesterday indicating serious operational security breaches involving defense contractors and strategic intelligence sales to foreign governments. We understand there may be connected strategic intelligence being reported in this command center. Lisa allowed herself a slight smile. Exactly on schedule, she said quietly. Director Chen approached her position. You would be Specialist Strategic, formerly of Strategic Planning Command. I would be. We have extensive questions about your strategic intelligence activities and the evidence you've been collecting regarding intelligence sales to foreign governments. And I have comprehensive answers, Director. For years of documentation. The Director addressed General Morrison. Sir, with your permission, I'd like to coordinate with your strategic operations while securing the intelligence Specialist Strategic has provided for formal counterintelligence investigation. General Morrison nodded decisively. Granted, but our immediate priority is determining the operational security implications for current and future strategic military operations. Understood completely, sir. Our investigation supports rather than interferes with strategic military operations and planning. The command center began reorganizing around both the strategic exercise conclusion and the security investigation, but Lisa remained integrated with the strategic response rather than isolated from it. General Morrison approached her directly. I still don't understand the complete strategic picture, he said, looking directly at her intelligence displays. Why would you risk exposure to intervene in today's exercise? Your cover assignment provided security while you gathered evidence about intelligence sales. Because strategic doctrines developed from this exercise will be implemented in real-world military operations, Lisa replied simply. You trusted my strategic intelligence assessments during Strategic Planning Command operations. You implemented strategic plans based on my reconnaissance data because you knew it was accurate and professionally developed. How can you be certain I wasn't involved in the intelligence sales that destroyed your unit? Lisa displayed a quiet smile. Because I've spent 4 years analyzing every detail of what happened to my strategic intelligence unit. I know who altered strategic assessments and who profited from selling operational plans to foreign governments. Most importantly, I know you requested verification of intelligence reports multiple times because you suspected something was wrong with the strategic planning process. General Morrison's expression showed recognition. How could you possibly know about those verification requests? Those strategic communications were classified at the highest levels. I had assistance from people within the strategic intelligence community who weren't compromised, Lisa admitted. Not everyone involved in strategic planning was participating in the intelligence sales. There are still professional soldiers within the system who wanted the truth exposed and who wanted to prevent strategic military operations from being betrayed because of systematic intelligence compromise. As she prepared to coordinate both strategic conclusion and evidence transfer, Colonel Harrison approached. Specialist, he said with formal respect, then dropped his voice. Lisa, we thought you had been safely transferred after Strategic Planning Command was restructured. I know, she replied quietly. I maintained that cover while continuing the investigation we started. Thank you for trusting my strategic intelligence assessments. What happens to strategic military planning now? Lisa indicated her intelligence displays showing real-time strategic coordination. Now we develop strategic doctrines based on accurate intelligence assessments and proper operational security. Strategic military planning can finally proceed with confidence because someone exposed the systematic intelligence betrayal. The command center remained focused on strategic implications while simultaneously processing the broader scope of systematic intelligence sales to foreign governments. General Morrison coordinated effective strategic responses while Director Chen secured evidence. For formal counterintelligence investigation, Lisa stood with the strategic staff who had unknowingly been working with compromised intelligence for years. From her strategic intelligence equipment, she retrieved carefully preserved operational records from Strategic Planning Command, strategic assessments, intelligence data, communication intercepts, operational security documentation, and presented them to the appropriate staff members who had been struggling with inconsistent strategic intelligence reports. They maintained professional standards until the end, she told them, referring to her former Strategic Intelligence Unit members. They never compromised their strategic assessments even when they realized our intelligence was being systematically sold to foreign governments. A strategic planner who had processed intelligence reports from multiple strategic operations held one of the data storage devices carefully. These strategic intelligence techniques were always more sophisticated than anything we received from regular intelligence channels, he said with growing understanding. They trained me to maintain the highest professional standards, Lisa said quietly. Everything I've done for the past 4 years was to honor their professional dedication and ensure strategic military operations wouldn't be betrayed because of the same intelligence sales. As strategic staff coordinated planning with restored confidence in their intelligence assessments, General Morrison approached once more. Specialist strategic, the Pentagon will want comprehensive briefings about both your evidence and the strategic intelligence compromises you've documented. Lisa nodded. I'm prepared for that. But first, strategic military planning needs to proceed based on accurate intelligence and proper operational security. And the military operations that might be at risk from other compromised strategic intelligence? The evidence I've provided should allow you to identify which strategic operations and intelligence assessments have been systematically compromised by the same intelligence sales network, Lisa replied with professional certainty. Every strategic military operation deserves accurate intelligence support and proper operational security. Colonel Stevens approached with obvious concern. I still struggle to understand how you can be certain those of us who unknowingly used compromised strategic intelligence weren't deliberately participating in these intelligence sales. Because responsibility belongs with those who created the intelligence compromises and profited from the sales, not those who were deceived by systematically altered strategic information, Lisa explained. You've been carrying strategic responsibility for planning problems that were caused by deliberate intelligence betrayal, not by professional failures of strategic judgment. As she prepared to leave the isolated data processing station for integration with the main strategic staff, her position shifted from the back of the facility to the central coordination area, the transition of a technical specialist operating with strategic authority rather than a data clerk relegated to administrative tasks. For a moment, she paused to observe the strategic displays showing the exercise's conclusion and subsequent security investigation. The strategic staff was coordinating with accurate intelligence for the first time in years. General Morrison was commanding strategic operations with restored confidence in his intelligence support. Colonel Stevens was working to identify other potentially compromised strategic assessments. Colonel Harrison watched her from the strategic planning console, his distinguished face reflecting professional respect and determination. Lisa acknowledged him with a slight nod before focusing on continued strategic coordination. Her mission wasn't completely finished. There would be extensive counterintelligence debriefings, formal criminal investigations, and probably congressional oversight hearings. The full scope of the intelligence sales to foreign governments would need to be exposed, and those responsible held accountable at every level of government and defense contracting. But the most critical part was accomplished. The truth was revealed, and strategic military planning could again proceed with confidence that intelligence support was serving American interests rather than foreign governments through systematic betrayal. As strategic operations concluded with proper intelligence coordination, a security official approached. Specialist Strategic Director Chun has arranged secure facilities for your continued participation in both strategic planning and formal counterintelligence investigation procedures. She coordinated final strategic handoffs while remaining conscious of the eyes following her transition from isolation to integration. Strategic staff, intelligence analysts, communication personnel. For 4 years, she had worked invisibly, maintaining technical competence while gathering evidence about systematic intelligence betrayal to foreign governments. Now she operated openly, her identity and expertise fully utilized for strategic success rather than concealed for personal security. Colonel Harrison approached her before she transitioned to investigative coordination. Specialist, he said quietly. What you accomplished. Maintaining strategic effectiveness while investigating intelligence sales, gathering evidence while maintaining cover, revealing the truth at the critical strategic moment. It represents exceptional professional courage and intelligence work of the highest caliber. I had obligations to my strategic intelligence unit and to military operations that would be based on compromised strategic planning, she replied simply. It was significantly more than professional obligation, he insisted. It was strategic intelligence work and operational security analysis of exceptional quality under extremely difficult circumstances. Lisa allowed herself a professional smile. You provided effective training during strategic planning command operations, Colonel. I provided strategic procedures and intelligence techniques, he corrected. What you demonstrated today came from exceptional personal integrity and professional dedication to protecting strategic military operations. He watched her coordinate final evidence transfer with the investigative team, then addressed General Morrison, who had joined them. Some soldiers never receive appropriate recognition for protecting strategic military operations, he said quietly. They simply carry the responsibility through exceptional professional performance. General Morrison nodded, observing Lisa's coordination with both strategic and investigative personnel. And some truths require years of patient investigation to emerge and protect strategic military capabilities. The afternoon light continued as Lisa's strategic coordination transitioned from the command center to formal counterintelligence procedures. Behind her, the strategic staff operated with renewed confidence as military planning proceeded with accurate intelligence support and proper operational security. The strategic staff worked with restored trust, knowing their assessments would support military operations without systematic alteration by foreign interests. Ahead lay the challenge of ensuring complete accountability and dismantling the entire intelligence sales network responsible for systematic strategic compromise. But for now, in this moment between concealed investigation and revealed truth, the simple act of providing accurate strategic intelligence had transformed a compromised military exercise into the foundation for restored strategic planning integrity. The power of one soldier's quiet determination to honor fallen colleagues and protect strategic military operations, even when it required years of patient evidence gathering to expose betrayals that powerful interests had systematically concealed while profiting from intelligence sales to foreign governments. As strategic coordination concluded successfully, Lisa's secure communication system crackled with an update from the Pentagon. All strategic elements. This is strategic command. Exercise terminated with comprehensive security review initiated. Strategic planning integrity restored thanks to accurate intelligence coordination. Lisa closed her eyes briefly and smiled for the first time in 4 years, knowing that strategic military planning could finally proceed with confidence and proper operational security.